Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified, Makia Video Productions, and Melly Productions, with additional support from Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.
Hello, I'm Michael Clark, and welcome to another exciting edition of Meet the Farmer TV here in Central Virginia. Let's go talk to the Farm Bureau and find out how they help manage some of those liability insurance issues and other aspects of Virginia farming.
And the consumer's ultimately going to make the decision. So if the consumer says this is what we want, well, that's what the end product we need to provide to the consumer, because the consumer is always right. So when the consumer says, we really like to know where this food comes from, we feel better, have a more conscious connection to the food that we're consuming when we know where it came from and when it came here local. You know, you're getting local wines now, making choices of local foods, meats, vegetables. Farm Bureau, where we can come through with Farm Bureau, is to make sure everyone knows. If there's food out there to be purchased, well, let's make sure everyone knows it and where you can go and get that. And like I said, we need to be able to set these small marketing structures up for every community throughout the state of Virginia. So if there's a family of wanting a fresh local product directly from a farm, well, you shouldn't have to drive an hour to get it. We should be able to find it efficiently and quickly and go do it and have a wonderful experience with the family when you go and do it. We definitely need to know all the options out there. So many times when we look at raw commodities, we're in a one-track mind of how those commodities are produced. So you see the entrepreneurs in the world, especially those entrepreneurs in agriculture who think about things differently or see things differently, or how we could possibly do it different. We need to see them as visionaries, and we need to follow their lead. And if they have a good idea, well, let's follow that good idea and let's make a business enterprise out of it. So many times we go to the supermarket shelf, we see so many refined products and so many products on the supermarket shelf that are just marketing. We need to get back to figure out where those products really came from and really try to identify what food you're eating to begin with, not just the marketing label that is associated with it. And so both the Buy Fresh, Buy Local movements and the Save Our Food movements, and this whole let's get back to know our food idea, know who it comes from. I had a great visit a year or so ago down it with a distributor for Food City, and he was responsible for buying all the produce for Food City in there, and he said his best marketing campaign by far was to simply put a picture of the farmer that grew the produce next to the bin of produce when it come in, and he said it flew off the shelves. You know, let's get to know the families and the faces of the people producing your food again. Let's not take it for granted, just go to the supermarket and picking it up, throwing it in a bag and paying the cheapest price for it. And we do need to get away from the cheap food policy, because input costs are going up, and to match the input costs necessary to producing food and to still try to produce a cheap food product, a lot of that cheap food's coming from overseas. And I don't think that's the best thing in the world for this country either. So we need to pay attention to what's going on in the trends, and we need to do our part.
Here we are in Charlottesville, Virginia on Elliewood Avenue at Sublime All Natural. We're going to talk to Jeff Robinson about this wonderful little shop here. Tell us about it, Jeff.
Well, Mike, Sublime All Natural started with my partners, Tim Rose, Julia Jondal, and Stuart Madney. The concept about 4 years ago to supply healthy, healing, local, nutritional foods at as reasonable price as possible. So we've sourced as much locally as we can from our local farmers, and we're still always increasing our contacts in the local community with our farmers and trying to support the local, healthiest possible beneficial products that we can find.
So you're really interested in creating food that was healing food.
Absolutely.
Directed at certain energy centers of the body, not just at something that tastes good.
Absolutely. We want to make it taste good. We want to bring the vibrancy of the most natural food with all its potential healing abilities and stimulating abilities for your immune system and for your basic energy systems. And so that's where your products are some of the best on the planet.
So you really are, because you're looking for this healing quality of the food, you're really driven to those local sources so that you can get the stuff fresh. It's something that you're not going to get in a frozen cryo pack.
Absolutely. Even a product that has to travel a great distance has lost a lot of its vitality in travel. And that's where the little balancing act of, do you get a local thing that may or may not be organic versus an organic thing that's traveled across the country? I think the freshness brings a lot more vitality sometimes than something that's been packed and shipped for weeks at a time. And also, because we look at the whole health of the whole organism of the human being as well as the planet, we want to make that commitment to the practices that sustain our planet as well. So,
right. So you made a lot of efforts in building the shop here for those sustainable. Your design, you used a lot of bamboo materials. The paint. Everything. You don't have normal solvent type paints on the floor. You have special finishes everywhere.
We use as much environmentally conscious products as we could find. We use the biodegradable cups. We use sustainable bamboo. We've done a lot of energy work with the design of the space itself, so that it has a lot of healing energies coming in. And we've tried to do that with the thought of replicating and being able to spread this kind of concept out and get people more aware of what really makes them healthy as individuals and as a community and as a planet.
Well, that's great. So you really couldn't have done this level of sustainable building in your design and that level of focus with the food just as a marketing quirk. This is a real serious, passionate
that's part
investment.
of our mission. It's part of our dedication to the whole process of learning what the next level of awareness with our community and our bodies and everything together, and with the local farmers is an integral part of that, to get the product out of the earth in the healthiest way and into our bodies as healthy and deliciously as possible.
Well, that's really great. So you're saying that it's more important to you to follow that chain of vitality from the farm to your restaurant versus having a label that says organic or certified free trade.
I think so. Yeah, with my meeting you and some of the other local farmers, it gives you that feeling of integrity and authenticity of knowing where your food comes from, and as much as you can. Of course, we can't source everything in our store. We need bananas; they don't grow around here, and many other ingredients that we just can't source locally all the time. But as much as we can, we want to do that and continue to expand whatever the supply line will endure.
Well, that's great. Well, let's take some wheatgrass inside, and I think Dawn Story's in there, and she provides some tea mixes for you. And we'd like to tell you, or have you tell us, about how you built the shop and about each of these different pieces, and show us the floor finish and the counters and the whole. You even got a special energized water system, don't you?
We do. Well, I'll be happy to show you when we get inside.
All right, let's go inside. Take the wheatgrass. All right, so Jeff, tell us about how, there's so many things here. I see bamboo counters, I see special floor finishes. Tell me about how you put together this whole plan for this healing space inside.
Well, this space came available, and we sort of had to adjust our thinking to the size of the place. And
it is sort of small.
So it's very small. We don't have a kitchen to work out of, so we had to make this a working and open space for people. And Stuart, one of my partners, is an architect, and he works with healing design. So he did most of the actual physical design work here, and then I did most of the construction parts. And we try to implement as many all-natural products. As you mentioned, we use low VOC paint. We use the bamboo plywood countertops, sustainable plywood. A lot of these products are a lot more expensive, but we are committed to the sustainable, and so it was a learning process. It took us about 4 months, I think, to build out the space. So it took you 4 months
before you could even open the business?
Before we opened the business, yeah. We got the space in June and started building probably in July, and then opened in November. So it's July, August, September, October, about 4 months of building and just designing and building as we went. We changed a lot of the lighting to make sure that we had the correct balance of light on the space, and then we retiled the back, and I used reclaimed materials where I could find them. I used stuff from Habitat for Humanity store to pick up some tile, and so we got tile for the back room from here. I know some of that came from Habitat. And having been in the construction business, I always just keep old materials that I have and try to recycle them as much as possible. So we built things locally, had friends come and help build things, and just did as much work ourselves as we could.
Now, did you have any problem with regulations using these unusual building materials where maybe the health inspectors used to everything being polyurethane or epoxy, and did they get concerned of washable surfaces, that you're using these natural materials, and they really wanted you to just have it all be stainless steel? Or
no, they were okay as long as you use the stuff in the food preparation areas that meets their standards, and because that's just a service counter, not a work counter, they didn't have any problem with that. As I understand, I think that they're kind of reversing their tack on that a little bit. They're finding out that the disease and bacteria lives more in the plastic cutting boards than they actually do in the wood cutting boards, because they have natural antibiotics in wood cutting boards. So, as my understanding, the last couple of years, I remember about 10 years ago that they were really gung-ho about no wooden cutting boards, and now I've heard hints that they might be reversing that policy. I'm not fully up on that particular argument, but.
Well, now, do you think that all this effort that you put into making this such a special healing space, do you see a difference in the people coming in? Do they appreciate what you're doing, or are they just coming in for a quick smoothie and they really don't care?
Well, you can tell certain people definitely feel the difference. They have a comfort and a calm, and just tend to really be dedicated to coming back over and over. It's a blend. We have our hardcore regulars that really get the vibe, and they're here all the time, and then we have people that are on the go and are just trying another lunch place on their way through the corner because they try.
So you've got some people that are really dedicated to coming back and absorbing some of this healing food and energy on a regular basis.
Yeah, we have some very dedicated regulars, and they love it.
That's great. Well, let me step aside a little bit here, and you show us some of the different foods and things you do, and your special water systems, and all of what you've put together here. Maybe even some of Dawn's teas that she blends for you, and just kind of give us a little run through of the menu. And well, we brought in some wheatgrass right from the farm. Now, how about if I step out of the way, Jeff, and let you show us all the different foods and your preparation methods and what you've got here to give us some good healing food.
We started our initial concept about Sublime, the juice bar, with developing recipes with juices and smoothies that were very specific to each of your energy systems, and with color and nutrition, and very closely related to Dawn Stories, New Moon Naturals chakra teas. We have some of our smoothies and juices are designed for each of the chakras, and I'm sure in a minute Dawn will tell us about her teas. So this is our juice station, then our smoothie station. We keep everything as close as we can to where we work. Our wheatgrass up here, as you can see, our wheatgrasser right here, and then over here is our sandwich and wrap and salad station. We make our soups every day. We use as much local and organic ingredients for our soups. We use a local breads from Albemarle Baking Company. We source things from not only Planet Earth Diversified, we source from Caramount Farms, our goat cheese. We source from Griffin's Airy Farm, our beef. Use local eggs from a number of different sources, one being Firefly Farm in Whitehall. We also use Shallow Creek Farm from over in Spotswood, sometimes from Innisfree Farm in Whitehall as well. So we're trying to use as much local stuff as we can and as much organic as we can. Well, one of the unique things about Sublime, and that you're not going to find in any other commercial business that I know of right now, is this alkalizing system for water. So we've researched water quite a bit over the years and found that the purity and pH of water actually can be one of the most healing determinants. We found that this alkalizing machine, actually, you can change the pH to whatever level you want and start out gently in a slightly alkaline water range and bring it up higher and higher to help your body detox itself. And basically, if a person is first started on alkalized water, they don't want it to be too alkaline because it can shock the system a little bit into a detox. But if they're already relatively healthy, you can start at a little higher pH. One of our other techniques we use to help sustain Mother Earth in our business is to compost all of the organic material that comes out of our juicer, and as well as all the other prepped materials that we have. We keep in compost buckets, and at the end of the day, we either take them to a home composting spot, or we give them back to other farmers that come in. We return all the wheatgrass trays to Mike, and sometimes he takes buckets of compost. We have a few different friends and farmers and gardeners that use our organic material to go in their own compost bins, and that's just part of our bigger picture of trying to reuse as much as we can and get it back into the earth as quickly as possible. Hopefully we'll be growing our own herb garden at some point and supplying as much as we can, not to take any other farmers out of business, but you know, we want to use our own compost from our own stores to go back into our own healthy organic system.
So I'm making what we call the Soul Sister right now, which is one of our most popular smoothies. It's kind of a silly name, but people remember it well. And it's popular this time of year, especially because we put cinnamon and cardamom in it. And you'd be amazed how many people come in and say, I don't know what cardamom is. And it's fun to describe it to them, but it's also hard because, of course, cardamom doesn't really taste like anything else. And for this one, I put in some protein powder, too. So we have these super duper Vitamixes and sound abatement for them because they're very loud. And when you've got them going all day long, it gets kind of fatiguing without this abatement. And it's with fresh banana and mango. And that's it. And ice. And that's it.
And then we'll move up to our tea station, which is here, and you can see our chakra teas that Dawn designed. So this is Dawn's story to tell us a little bit about her New Moon Naturals homemade teas.
Great. Well, basically what happened is when the Sublime folks were planning their operation here, they came to me, and what we did is we customized a line to go with their smoothie line and the rest of their foods. So we came up with a line of 7 chakra teas to match each of the 7 energy centers in the body, as well as some other healing brews such as a detoxification tea and a vitamin C antioxidant tea and things like that.
So how did you get started making herb teas, Dawn?
Well, it probably goes way back to when I was a little girl. You know, I've lived in the Piedmont region of Virginia all my life, and I've always loved nature, and I've always loved being outside. And as I got older, I realized that I had a connection with these plants, and I decided I wanted to learn more about them. So originally I started crafting with them and making wreaths and things like that, and then I started cooking with them because I realized some of these plants taste really good, and then I realized they had medicinal qualities. So from there it just went gangbusters. I really started doing a lot of experimentation, really started trying a lot of these plants, the roots, the barks, the leaves. And
So what, you're wandering around the mountains in Rappahannock County just eating all the plants?
Pretty much. Pretty much. And eventually, well, one day I went to an herbal fair, and I saw a woman speaking there, and she was talking about her herbal school. And I kept that in the back of my mind for a little while, actually left the area for a couple of months and came back, and lo and behold, that school opened up right in Rappahannock County where I was living. So it was meant to be, I feel. So that school at the time was called the Dreamtime Center for Herbal Studies. Wow. And it was run by 2 amazing women, Teresa Boardwine and Kathleen Meyer. I went through their 3-year clinical herbalist training program and also did a lot of adjunct courses that included a lot of celebrity herbalists coming into town and studying with them. And I also worked for the school for a long time, so I gained quite an education. So at the same time, I also studied with the East-West School of Herbalism, which focuses on the Eastern philosophies of diagnosis.
So this like Chinese
Exactly,
medicine?
exactly. And as I was going to Dreamtime, I also started working with a Chinese herbalist in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I actually worked for him for about 9 years before leaving, and in that process I started up New Moon Naturals.
Wow, so this is like 15 years of herbal training or working directly with herbal practitioners.
Working with practitioners, working with the plants. I've been working in a client setting for a long time, and also the other side of that, out in the woods, actually putting my hands on the plants and growing some of the plants, as many as I can.
Now, did you notice a difference in the things that you wildcrafted or grew yourself versus something that you had to obtain dry or from out of state or out of the country? Or I imagine a lot of the Chinese herbs come from out of the country.
Absolutely. The plants that are grown locally, especially the native plants, have so much more vibrancy than plants that have been harvested months, even years ago, and that are packaged, sometimes sprayed with sulfur and what have you, and shipped thousands and thousands of miles away to their destination. The native plants actually have more medicine potential because they are native to our soil. They're actually stronger, and the constituents within that plant actually are more vibrant.
But I have noticed that with some of the greenhouse grown herbs, they just seem to like have a higher oil content, to be more potent or a fresher, more floral scent. Do you see that? And when you're making teas from, I know you've come to the farm and harvested your own stuff and taken it away to make some of your blends. What kind of differences do you see there?
Well, when someone is really focusing on the health of the plant, it really shows in terms of the volatile oils and the fragrance that come out.
Wow. So it must have worked really well to work with Jeff and his partners that they were starting this operation here, because they were so focused on health and they were really looking for that special, almost esoteric, energetic side of everything.
Yeah.
So you're really delivering them more than just teas and blends. You're putting a lot of heart and energy into each of those formulas for a specific healing purpose.
Absolutely. When they were telling me about their project in the initial stages of it, I was very excited, and I was just so thankful that they asked me to be a part of it, because what they're doing and what I'm doing really do resonate together. All of us are really concerned about the life force of foods and the ripple effects of the food choices that we make. So it really was a perfect marriage of what they're doing and what I'm doing.
Well, that's interesting, because there really are ripple effects all the way from the farm to the herbalist and the juice bar and the healing center. So it has a huge impact of all of us on the community, and it really has elevated a number of interactions where each of our businesses is somewhat supported by that, but there's also sort of an emotional and psychological impact in the community. Do you see that as a benefit as well as having a profit for your products?
I do see that as a benefit, and a lot of this is so much about relationships and so much about strengthening the web of our community. Really, given the current global crises that we are facing, it really is about community, and the best thing we can do right now is get to know our neighbors, get to know our community, get to know who has what and how we can work together. And that's the way we're going to not just survive, but thrive.
Great. Now, you do some work with other things like the Environmental Council. You've helped start some holiday markets and farmers markets in other areas. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's worked.
Yeah, well, the Piedmont Environmental Council was approached earlier this year by the Forest Lakes Homeowners Association because they wanted to have a farmers market right in their neighborhood. And as far as we know, they are the first homeowners association to do that. So given our connection with the farmers due to our Buy Fresh, Buy Local campaign, we were excited to get involved in that project, and we did. And we started the market this summer, and we had a smashing success. Everyone is extremely happy about the situation. The farmers are happy. The residents of the Forest Lakes community are happy. Everyone at PEC is happy. And again, there's another ripple effect.
Wow. So what other new relationships have developed out of this collaboration?
Well, one of the great things that has happened is that people are recognizing the interconnection that we all have, and I'm finding that people will contact me and say, hey, I have a bumper crop of catnip, for example, and can you come get it? It's just sitting here, and I use catnip in quite a few of my teas, in fact. It's a nervine, it's also a digestive, and so it goes in a lot of blends, and I also have 3 cats. So, and what is a lot of fun about doing that is actually going to their place and harvesting the catnip with them, and it ends up being a lot of fun. It's a social opportunity, it's a business opportunity. I get to know their family, I get to walk on their land, and they get to find out a little bit more about what I do and who I'm selling my tea to. So once again, it all comes full circle.
So really, this is so different than all of us getting in our little cars or big SUVs and rushing to a big box store and fighting over a parking spot so we can go get a shrink wrap package of something that we don't really know where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a total different model, and one of the benefits of that is when you know who's growing your food or making your tea, for instance, you really have a sense of satisfaction. You know your food is safer. You know someone that made that food is not being paid slave wages. You know someone is enjoying what they do, and you know it is filled with the love of the soil of where we all live.
So there's really something special that's communicated and transferred in these interactions, a sort of psychological and emotional benefit that is healing and spirit uplifting that doesn't happen unless we have these sort of face-to-face interactions and relationships in a tight community. So it's really, in a way, it's a step backward in times. It's so different than our modern way of life.
Absolutely. We're basically in a process of remembering where we were about 100 years ago or so, and we are rebuilding, and some folks will call it relocalizing or reskilling. We're going back to not so much the dark ages, but taking what was best from that time and applying it to our modern times. And the healing is on many levels. You know, speaking in specifics of the tea is healing, but also the relationships that come out of procuring the herbs for the tea and selling the tea to other local merchants. It's healing on many levels.
Wow. So I imagine when you're walking in this guest farm that you've been invited to harvest this bumper crop of catnip, you're really not concerned what the Dow Jones average was that day.
I have no idea what the Dow Jones is today, and it doesn't affect me in the least because I know I'm doing what I love, and my best security is to live my passion.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Dawn, for telling us about New Moon Naturals and the tea blends that you make and the relationships you've developed and how you help support this new operation here in Charlottesville. And thank you, Jeff, for showing us Sublime All Natural, this all-natural juice bar here on Elliewood in Charlottesville, Virginia. So there you have it, the whole story about Sublime All Natural Juice Bar here on Elliewood Avenue in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you again for joining us for Meet the Farmer TV. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified, Makia Video Productions, and Melly Productions, with additional support from Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.